Hey T-Squad, welcome back to TGP Games, and today I want to explain my most viewed videos, my most recent viewed videos. They've gotten like 400, like 500, and below, and that's where I got like 10 subscribers from, which doesn't sound a lot, but it's a lot for me. I haven't gotten this much subscribers in a long time, but I will be explaining some of them since they don't really come with a lot of context for you guys. Just turn on these lights so you can see me better for a moment. But now we're moving to the animation part. So, first animation, obviously, this is my first animation I've ever made, so it contains a bit of flaws. First of all, you can see, if you look closely, Retro's face is not the same color as the square that is his head. Like, the outline of his head is red, but his face is like orange or red. It's like an orange or red. It more matches, like, his chest. I think I did the same thing with his chest than it does his actual outline, or his antenna. But, that gets fixed right here, where he's now all completely the same color, and, no flaws for a bit, until right here. As you can see, Orteraton's arm, the pink one with the purple hand grabbing Retro's arm, is not filled in with white, like it should be. Same with Retro, or his buttons. No fill-in white here, like they're supposed to be, except for Retro's TV stomach screen. But, that gets fixed, and I don't believe... Oh, right here. That's one more flaw. Orteraton's eyes are not big enough, and they're definitely way too close together and way too high on his face. But this is my first animation, and the first time that I've ever drawn him in the app I'm using. So, that definitely gets upgraded later, but it's definitely a little bit weird, right now. Stays like that right there, and then that last bit is all completely correct. So that is the first animation with their flaws, but you might be wondering why I'm calling him Orteraton. It's because in the description, it says Retro and Orteraton, because that's the name of the characters. That is obviously Retro the Red Robot, as the face of the animation and the face of my channel. But the other one is like basically a purple version of him that looks very different and very more menacing than Retro actually does. His name is Orteraton. But if you didn't know, Orteraton spelled backwards is two words, and it says, I'm gonna give you a second to figure it out, not Retro. It's literally not Retro. Spelled backwards, it is not Retro, and his name, either way, is still not Retro. That's why I named him that, because it's kind of like an opposite version of him, but there's a deeper backstory as to why he is and looks like he does. But, that is my first ever animation, and that's all the things you need to know. But I don't know if I should have played that entire animation because of copyright reasons, but I'm sure it's fine. I'll only play this one for a little bit, just in the find it. I could definitely get copyrighted easily.
Lights off, soon you will count your minor sheep. Lights off, gaze into shining stars above.
Actually, I'll stop it right there before we get copyrighted. But as you saw in that animation, back here, there are two gigantic, what looks to be buildings or skyscrapers. And at the beginning, there are stars, and you can see Orteraton in the middle of those buildings, right there, staring at Retro. Very creepily. Where the flip is it? It's not liking... Oh, nope. Okay. There we go. Got him. Haha. Okay. This is basically from Retro's point of view. That's what he sees, besides his head. And he runs away, and then sees Orteraton looking down at him again. And if you didn't know what this scene was, that's Retro sweating. I don't like to show their faces when they're super far away. It just seems like a dull detail to have when you can barely see, like, their buttons, for example. They're so small, so why make their face? It just looks better, in my opinion. Retro is sweating. He's sweating coolant, because sweat is basically our coolant, so he's sweating actual coolant, since they're robots, you know? But if you didn't know what that was, it was sweat, but it was also coolant, because that's what Retro sweats. So when he's stressed, he sweats coolant. And also, this is a definitely big flaw, same like last time. Arms are not colored in. That is basically all that's all the flaws that are in this video. It's really just one. But let me explain. The stars and the skyscrapers is all Orteraton's doing. First of all, the skyscrapers symbolize like very high-tech things and advancements. They look normal to us, but I just had a hard time drawing high-tech skyscrapers, so I kind of just drew normal ones. It looks a little more high-tech in my my second newest animation. But that's what Retro sees them as, like high-tech pieces of machinery taking control of his brain. Or, yeah, that's what this is. If you didn't know, this void space that Retro is mostly in, except for like 2 videos, this is the inside of his head. Orteraton lives inside of Retro's head, and then can take control of Retro when Retro is either in pain, or is feeling very, very angry, or is about to die. Orteraton is kind of like a cooler down thing, or a defense mechanism. But Retro does not like him, because he is evil and likes to torture Retro inside of his own head, and pulls him inside of his own head. He can turn Retro's body into a gigantic, destructive demon, basically. And there's a reason behind that, but I'm not going to get into that now. And also, the reason that he's able to do things like this is because those pink stripes and those long pink lines and connecting their body parts, those are all their limbs, and they are very, very stretchy. They can stretch around the entire world. There's basically no limit as to how long they can stretch for, but if there's just no limit. I don't know what I was going to say, because they're made of metal. I was going to say if someone breaks them, then it would definitely harm them a lot, because then they wouldn't be able to unextend them, but their limbs are still metal. They're not like fabric or anything. They're still just made of metal, but they're extremely extendable. And that's why they're able to do this. Orteraton is just way more advanced than Retro is in it, so he's able to move around a lot better by using it. So that's my first animation. I'm not going to get into the rest. Actually, I do have to get into one more part. It's this part right here. As you can see, Orteraton appears behind Retro again, does something with his energized scythe. That's what that is, if you couldn't tell. He fires like a gigantic slice at Retro, hits the ground below him, causes it to glow and then disappear, and then Retro falls. That's what happens, and then Orteraton waves goodbye to him, but his eyes are like the same flaws in the first video. But yeah, he uses this energized scythe to basically do whatever he wants. He can kill things by just stabbing them. He could shoot it at someone, slice them in half, shoot it at someone, make them completely disappear, or just shoot at anything and make it completely disappear, or slice it in half. Or I can just use the scythe as how the scythe was intended, or how the Grim Reaper uses the scythe. That's why I basically modeled him after the Grim Reaper. He's like the robot Grim Reaper, because he has the hood, he has the scythe, and he brings a lot of death. Even though unlike the Grim Reaper, he is actually evil. Grim Reaper just does his job. But this guy, he actually just wants to kill people. So that's the second animation. This one might need a lot of explaining right here. Well, let's do every door first. Every door you open. First flaw, Retro's face looks nothing like it does in the first videos, but that's fine. I think it's Orteraton's face that it just doesn't look right to me. I think his eyes are they're big, but they're not big enough, but they are separated unlike the other videos. But it just looks I don't know, it's just something about how I drew their heads this time that I didn't really find correct, specifically in this part. But of course, you're failing. He points and touches Retro, and then you can see trees. If you didn't know, Retro loves nature. But since he's technology, Orteraton taunts Retro and makes him vision the very thing that he is, taking over the Earth and basically destroying what he loves. And that's what's showing here. These futuristic skyscrapers crushing nature, which is something that he does not like to see. And of course, he's sweating a lot of coolant. He turns around and is very shocked. He does the cool, or Teraton does the weird baldy thing where he smacks the scythe on his own hand. Retro runs away, but then hits another skyscraper. And then this scene right here. Not that one, the one before this. That... This must have to be the weirdest frame that I've ever drawn Retro. I tried to get him turning around to look at him, or Teraton again, but it didn't work. But it works in the second frame. Retro is just, like, looking at Teraton. I showed it a second ago. There. That worked a lot better than the first part of that, but it was just definitely a weird frame I had to draw. He does the extendable limb thing, definitely shown there. Grabs the scythe off his back. And then this part I love. He just stands there, looking at you. His scythe appears out of nowhere, because he can summon it at will. He can also, if you didn't know, he can mass shift. He can just make himself as big or small as he wants, and he can do the same thing with his scythe. The only thing that I can't really change is how much energy is in the scythe itself, but he can control how much he uses. But then he hits the screen. I love this part. I made it so that it looks like the screen that he hit broke, and then blood from the user of the screen. So that's that is the animation. I love that last part, but that's really the only thing I like about it. These last two, might need the most explaining. So I'm going to explain the one that makes more sense, even though it definitely needs explaining. It's Teraton. Love that part. Jake Kang with some technology. And this part, people probably didn't get. This is electricity, and as you can see, it turns pink. But if you look back at Teraton for a second, you can see, and every time I draw his full body, or at least most of his upper body, you can see this electric thing going through his chest screen like Retro has. Unlike Electro's electricity is colored normally. This one is colored pink, because he's supposed to be like the opposite of Retro, so it's the opposite colors too. So, he shook hands with somebody, which symbolizes a deal, and that deal granted humanity technology in my story that I'm making, but I can't give away too much because my story will be coming at least by this summer, just so you guys know. It's either going to take longer than the summer to make the story that I talked about when I showed my first ever video about my OCs, like my first ever full video about Retro and his friends/enemies. But yeah, there's a story coming for these characters that's going to be like a full, like 6 multi-minute long videos. Unlike these ones, which are just shorts, there's going to be actual storyline behind Retro and his enemies and friends. But this one shows a big part of the storyline where Teraton makes a deal with a human and then grants him technology, but of course, like in the song, that power was abused, and as you can see, the electricity turns pink, which is something that Teraton is wildly known for. So, he definitely abuses the technology that he gave humanity. Which, he was always a monster, but he just never was able to be a monster. Which I just like this song because of this part, that part. And then also, this part I love because it fit Teraton a lot. More electricity.
Now you need to run because the name has come. I need help.
I just love this part. This is my favorite part that I've ever drawn. I was not always a monster, and it's just the biggest eyes opened. It's like a gross up from SpongeBob, but not as gross. But I think there is one more thing that I like better. Oh yeah, the descriptions, I forgot. There's one more frame that I drew, or a couple frames that I liked from my newest animation that I loved drawing. But, description, Orteraton's past. That's what this video is showing. Every door... Pause. Description. Retro's fear, which was the nature getting destroyed by technology and Orteraton. Lights off. Description is Orteraton torturing Retro inside their head, since it's both of their head. I already showed this one. And I already showed Orteraton's past. So, there is only one video left that I have to explain, and it's my newest one and possibly the most confusing. I'm gonna let this one play because it's very confusing. That was hard to draw. This part's probably very confusing for people. Bam! And then Retro's just fading away. So yeah, this is very confusing. I let the description speak for itself. This is what would happen if Retro went insane and decided to merge with Orteraton. It would create a being that would have the power to destroy the entire universe they reside in and inhabit a different one. If Retro had enough willpower, then he could snap out of it. Which is what happened at the end. Retro, I loved that I made his mouth move the way it did, because now that's what I wanted for his electric mouth part, is it's a screen, but it shows electricity and vibrations. However, he talks, the electricity bounces up and down for, like, as loud or, as, like, I don't know the word, but, like, yeah, basically as loud or as quiet as he speaks, the electricity and vibrations goes up and down. Like, kind of like a heart monitor. And obviously right there, Retro's eyes are wide and his pupils are very small. This is showing how he goes insane. From Orteraton's torturing, which you don't get to see in this video, but he is going insane from that. If you didn't know, now you know. But then I love this part. His eyes turn purple as he looks up, and then his metal starts to darken. His arms go down. His electricity also starts to darken, and then it turns completely purple. And then Orteraton takes control. And then the entire background is dark. Orteraton gets his sight, but then, all of a sudden, Orteraton feels scared because Retro is deciding he's had enough and decides to merge with Orteraton to stop the pain and insanity that he's now going through. And he doesn't care if the creature that they'll make will harm people because he is now insane from this man's doing. But, of course, this man's doing has come back to bite him, and now he is basically dying and being reborn. And then, of course, red hand, symbolizing Retro's hand, and then turns orange, and then BAM! Retro, they create this thing that looks like Retro and Orteraton at the same time, but Retro's definitely still crazy, but it's a completely different thing. Also, I just want to point out, Retro's one antenna, if any time Retro has one antenna, the electricity doesn't go through the two, it just stays on one. But this entity has the ability to have half of him light and half of him dark, but he's definitely evil. He just basically threw off the entire yin and yang situation where there's light inside the dark inside the light. They work together to make a perfect circle, which is just a perfect balance, basically. This guy throws it all off, since the good that was Retro decided to merge with Orteraton and become even more evil. And now there's no good left. He can change the world however he wants. He can add light to one side, add dark to most of it. He can change dark sides to light sides and throw off all of the balance of the entire universe and basically just destroy the entire thing. And then, because of this power, he can just basically inhabit another one and do the same thing. He's a mismatch, a amalgamation, if you will, of both of them. But there is no goodness left, since Retro went insane before he merged, and so there's, like, no good Retro left. I called him Orter Maglima because it's Amalgam Retro backwards, and I like the backwards part for his name, since that's what a Teraton had. But there's no not retro part. It is retro, but amalgamation. But I decided to shorten it thanks to some recommendations, and called it Amalga. So, just amalgamation of both of them. But it's shorter because the other name is very hard to say, since I'll be doing voice acting for when I do my story videos, my story animations for my actual retro story. But of course, they merge together, but this guy has the ability to just copy their faces and use them to basically fool people into thinking that they're nice, or fool people into thinking that they're going to die or whatever, because he can either get retro face, or he can just have Teraton's face and hood. But then, of course, suddenly they feel different, and what's happening? And then cuts to their legs, but then one hand shows, and that's what happens in this description. This would happen if Retro had enough willpower, then he could snap out of it before the universe gets destroyed. He just opens his hand, gains this power, and then snaps out of it by just clenching his hand with electricity as much as possible. And then he goes back to normal. But he's definitely traumatized if this would happen. This is not going to happen in my actual story, but I'll probably make like a what if video on it. Yeah, that is the explanation for my videos. Retro is like the most traumatized character that I've ever thought of. He's like the only character that I ever thought of. Or no, he's not. But he's like the first, and he's definitely the most traumatized character that I've ever seen out of anyone's OCs. And that will definitely show in the actual story videos that I'll post. But now I want to try and explain one of my friend's videos. He can explain my videos, and he can explain his own, however much he wants, but I do want to shout him out and show his first ever animation, which was released today. Hold on, let me just specifically go to his channel, and I'll just show it right here. Get out of here. That is showing his character Watasumi. He is my friend Willy Boy Games, who I run a channel with. He loves samurai and stuff, and swordsmen and stuff like that. So when I was making my OC, I told him that what I was doing, and I decided to give him an idea that he could do it too, and he decided that yeah, he'll do it. And he created his own character, Watasumi, who is the not the dragon. He is the god of water, or deity, or demigod of water, or something like that. But he can explain it on his channel, which he'll probably watch this video and then do that. So yeah, he is holding basically a ball of water, and he can do basically whatever he wants with water, kind of like how my characters can do whatever they want with electricity. But in this video, he destroys a planet. It's supposedly a corrupted planet, and what this guy fights are demons. This guy fights demons, and apparently demons corrupted Venus, basically. That planet in the background, that is Venus, and that's what the demons have corrupted that planet, basically. And instead of letting them just sit there making their plans to harm humanity or whatever, his character just cuts the planet and pieces, and it basically explodes. As you can see, he has shark tail, and one of my favorite parts is that he also has a robotic eye. And there is just a big slash that is coming towards his character, and he hits it with, also the planet finishes exploding. he hits the Slash with his water, but then there's one little fragment left, and it hits his hair, which undoes it. That was not supposed to happen. Now there was that. There we go. And what he thought of was that his hair, if it got unfurled, then he transforms into a dragon. And he just shoots this extreme beam of water and energy and stuff, and absolutely evaporates the demon swordsman that he was fighting. And I love this part. He just curls his hair back up into his hat. I love, yeah. His character looks really cool, and he wants to upgrade it because both him and I pointed out that he looks a little blocky. But if he just made him look a little more human, then he would well, he looks human, but just a little more like a not square. I'm sorry, Will. I don't know how to describe it, but a little less like he does now, then his character will look really cool. And also, our characters are in the same universe, and when both of our stories are done, because we're both going to post story videos on our characters, like their story and stuff, then once that's done, and I'm going to do like a bunch of them, once that's done, we are going to make a couple videos of both of these characters, Retro and Watasumi, his name is. And our villains will both be featured in that, and some other characters will probably make a surprise appearance, and some new characters will come along, and then there's going to be a Scottish guy, and then it's just going to be fun. I'm going to voice the Scottish guy. But, yeah, he's got to post his story, I got to post mine. I'm probably done for now until I find another, like, song to go to for my shorts. So I'm going to work on those story animations. He's going to probably post more shorts, because this is his first one. And upgrade his character as he draws him, and then we'll probably work on his story animations and his just general story, because I have my story, he does not. Yeah, I just wanted to try and explain his video. Will, you are allowed to try and explain mine before you watch this video, I guess, even though that's kind of hard because I showed this at the end. But I explained it. You can explain however you want. If I got it wrong, you can try and explain my videos for your audience, and yeah. Well, guys, that is going to be the end of this video. I have explained all of my animations and my friend's animation. I'll ask him if I got it all right, or if he wants to explain mine and his, again, in his way, or if I just got it all right off the bat, and it's too much work for him or something. But yeah, that's the explanation for the animations. Explanations for the animations. There we go. Yeah, so you're welcome. Thank you guys for watching my animations. You're probably not watching this video because no one really watches my videos. Everyone watches YouTube Shorts nowadays. But made it anyway for those diehard fans like Will. But thank you guys, and I'll be seeing ya eventually. Probably gonna post more shorts. What is down on my face? What the heck? Anyway, CT Squad, PP Games, out. Peace.